everybody to another episode of Gemology for Schmucks. My name is Peter Nelson and I'm here to guide you in everything you need to know about gemstones and jewelry. Diamond and gold rings. Is there anything more quintessential in modern jewelry? Probably not. In fact, some people would argue, especially those that are selling them, that you can't even get married without a diamond ring. Now, thankfully, that's starting to change, and in recent generations, people are eschewing diamonds and going towards colored stones for their engagement jewelry. But still, diamonds aren't going anywhere anytime soon, so I might as well tell you how to properly maintain a diamond ring. In fact, at New Approach School for Jewelers, which is where I just was over the past several months, it's something that we learn within the first week. And so I myself, having not been back to the United States in about half a decade, I had to pay my respects to my relatives. So I met with one of my aunties who had 2 gold rings that didn't quite fit her. They looked great on her hand, but, as we discussed in our previous video, they come off a little bit too easily, which means they needed to be sized down. So in this episode, what we're going to do is talk about diamonds, gold, and how to properly maintain your gold and diamond jewelry. So as this is a gemstone channel, let's talk about the diamonds first. On a fundamental level, diamond is just crystallized carbon. The element carbon, that's it. But there are some other things that are also crystallized carbon, like graphite, which is very, very soft and breaks very easily, quite different from what most people think about diamonds. The basic unit cell, or that tiny, most fundamental building block of the diamond, is however quite different from graphite, which is also carbon. And that's what gives diamond its unique properties, like its incredible hardness. And the perfect symmetry of that unit cell is what allows light to travel at the same speed from this direction or from this direction, whichever direction that it goes in the crystal. It's part of the cubic crystal system. One other unique property of diamonds, which is very relevant to maintaining diamonds, is that diamonds attract oil like crazy. It's almost magnetic, but for fat. And that's part of why it can be quite difficult to keep your diamonds looking bright and shiny all of the time. Any of your lotions, your skin cells, all of these things just go whoop, straight to the diamond. And over time, it builds up in a layer, which makes the stone look a little bit cloudy. But don't worry, we can fix that pretty easily. In fact, before we resize my auntie's rings, we're going to need to clean it first. Now, how do we do that appropriately? Many people have their own perspectives of how you should clean your jewelry, but cleaning things for sanitation and cleaning things to keep the stone, free of debris are 2 very different questions. Now, diamonds are generally chemically stable. There's not a whole lot of things that are going to harm a diamond. But there are some things that can harm your gold, and we'll talk about that once we get to the gold properties. So we've already established that there's lots of skin and lotion and perhaps bits of food if you like to cook with your jewels on. And that's all built up in a layer around the diamond. If we just set that diamond on fire right now, all of that lotion and nastiness is going to catch on fire too, and that may scorch the surface of our diamonds. But the good news is that that layer of filth is organic material. And one thing that attacks organic material, but not inorganic material, is caustic soda, or what is commonly known as lye. Now, this is an inexpensive product, but it does need to be used with caution, as it is very, very powerful. So the first thing that we do before sizing my auntie's rings is to soak these rings overnight in a mixture of caustic soda and warm water. Now, if you're doing this at home, please be very careful where you do this and where you leave your rings. If you've got animals or children or people who lack common sense floating around you, then be incredibly careful where you put this so that they don't get harmed. You've been warned. Somebody tell my lawyers. And what the lye is going to do is it's going to eat away at that layer of organic material, the lotion, the food, the skin cells, and it's going to cause it to separate from the diamond and just effectively fall off. So on the following day, when I go to check these jewels, I just have to carefully remove them, not with my fingers, because this is still a solution of lye, and give it a good rinsing off. Once it's rinsed off, it'll be safe to touch. And a quick word on lye. Any of you that are concerned about the danger of lye, in its concentrated form, it can be dangerous, but also keep in mind that lye is a fundamental component of making soap, particularly in the traditional method. This has been used for a very long time, but the amount of lye that is spread out in the soap, as opposed to concentrated in a small solution, is naturally going to affect your skin quite differently. Diluted solutions of lye are part of why it helps clean your hands so quickly, without burning you. Before we move on from diamonds, it is very important to keep in mind if you bought a diamond that is clarity enhanced or fracture filled, there may be a substance inside of your diamonds that expands and contracts at a different rate from your diamonds if it was heated. So while diamonds on their own can be resized in the ring, if a jeweler puts their torch on your diamond and it has been fracture filled with a different substance, there is a strong likelihood that your stone will be damaged in the process. Because either that filler substance may liquefy or it may expand at a different speed from the diamond crystal, causing damage. So please, if you know that you have a fracture-filled or clarity-enhanced diamond, please tell your jeweler. They should know, but you know Murphy's Law and all of that. If something can go wrong, it probably will. So anything that you know, you should disclose to your jeweler. And for those of you that are curious about lab versus natural or earth-mined diamonds, these heat and chemical stability characteristics are exactly the same in both types of diamonds, don't worry. The only difference is whether one was grown in a lab or mined from the earth. All of the other properties, aside from a couple of trace element chemical differences, are going to be effectively the same. So no worries on that front. So now that we've got our diamonds clean, let's talk about gold. The two things that I want to share with you are interconnected. The purity of your gold and how to keep it clean. So gold is an element. Pure gold, 100% pure gold, is however incredibly soft and incredibly yellow. So for jewelry purposes, sometimes they will alloy that gold, which is to mix another metal with it to change both its color and its other properties. And there's two major systems that you'll hear about in jewelry with gold. There's the carat system, spelled with a K, and then there's the millidecimal system. So the carat system is 24 parts out of 24. 24 karat gold is 100% pure. Half of that would be 12K, right? That would be 50% pure. So common jewelry alloys that you would hear would be 18 carats. So if we take 18 divided by 24 parts, that's going to be about 75% pure. So in the millidecimal system, that's basically parts of 1,000. Milli in Latin being 1,000. So if it's 75% pure at 18K, in the millidecimal system you would see 750. And those are numbers that you can see in your ring, oftentimes up by the shoulders. That's the area as you go towards the head of the ring. Not always, but often. And that's another reason for a loop to live in your pocket. Now, if you see a 14K, 14 parts out of 24, that comes up to being about 583 on the millidecimal system. Now, in reality, the fineness marked on the ring has to be at least that much or a bit higher. So oftentimes, instead of being 583, you'll see 585. Nice round numbers. So as far as properties, 18K gold and 14K gold, while they have differing percentages of gold, the mixture of the alloying metals, which could be things like copper and silver, as those mix together with the gold is going to behave in a different way. So 24K gold is very, very soft, and as we get to lower purity of gold, it tends to get much harder. And that will depend on exactly what other metals are used to alloy the gold. And different metals can be used not only to change the purity and therefore the price point of the gold, but also how hard gold is, which color, that's a very common reason to alloy. But each time we change that, we have to keep in mind how the gold is going to behave. So for example, white gold, which is not exactly that white, many people who get white gold rings will actually notice after they wear it for a while, why does the inside look so yellow? Because your finger has worn off that thin level of plating. And we'll talk about plating in a different episode. But with white gold, you're always going to have to either accept the base color of what white gold is, which is just a very pale yellow, or you're going to have to constantly be replating the ring. Otherwise, you should think about platinum. Platinum can also be alloyed, and typical alloys that you'll find in platinum are about 95% purity. Some alloys go as far as 90%, but I'd say that's a great deal more pure than our 75 and 58% over with typical gold alloys. But gold is what we're talking about right now. When you're cleaning your jewelry, if you use the lye method, which only attacks organic solids, you're totally fine. But some people think it's a good idea to clean their ring with something they'd use to clean their kitchen, like bleach. And this is a terrible idea, because the chlorine in bleach actually can attack the alloying materials inside of your ring. So that mix of gold and alloying materials can become somewhat like a sponge. As the chlorine eats away, particularly at copper, eventually your ring can become quite brittle. Particularly if you're in 14K, 58% pure. How much of that ring can the chlorine eat away at? So please do not use bleach or any other chlorine product, and it's also advisable for this exact same reason not to go swimming with your jewelry on, because most pools use chlorine to keep the entire place sanitary. So now that we've got these diamonds and gold clean, we can go and resize, same as with any other ring. If I know I'm only going down one size or so, or half size even, we don't have to worry too much about the stones moving in their settings, but we will double check them just to make sure they're nice and snug before giving it back to our client, my auntie. And as you'll remember from the previous episode, the ring should go on pretty easily, as it does here, and have to be wiggled to take it off. And it was particularly enjoyable hanging out with my auntie and seeing my work on her hands, especially with sparkly, clean new diamonds. Well, good as new. There's no such thing as secondhand stones. They're older than our civilizations. So anyhow, if you've got ideas for stones or jewelry projects, I am in this world. So please head over to gemshepherd.com. Otherwise, leave me a comment down below. Hit like, hit subscribe, tell all your friends about me. And until next time, bye-bye.